Hello and welcome back to GoodKnit Kisses. I'm your host Kristen, and today it is Monday Q&A day here at GKK. And welcome to the live and welcome to replay. If you're catching me later, be sure and tell me hi and tell me where you're from, and y'all just talk amongst yourselves too if I'm not around. Ask your questions and I will try and answer them the next week. Just write replay and ask your question. So it can be anything. If I choose not to answer it, if it's too personal, then I won't, and you'll understand. But most of the time, I will answer it. And this is a great place to ask your question, and I will follow up the next week if I don't get to it sooner. And so definitely, if it's a video idea or things like that, you can also put that on here too. That's great too. So Mondays are Q&A day here on Facebook on GKK, GoodKnit Kisses. Tuesday, loom knitting. Wednesday is knitting and with needles and having yarn and talking about yarn. And Thursday is crochet. And today I'm taking any questions. Welcome to the live. So if you're joining me live, hello, be sure and tell me hello. I hope you're doing well today. All my personalities, I'm knitting up a sample right now. And so I am just going to start knitting up while you guys are hopping on. I'm so glad to see you. It looks like we don't have, let's see, I'm looking at my the people hopping on. I haven't seen anybody comment yet, which is unusual. Just making sure that I've got a good connection. Last week when I tried to go live, we're having a little bit of a bad connection. So anyway, if you are on, please type in if you're new, and let me know that you're here, and that way it also will let me know if you are and if you're not new. Please type in something for me, and that way I know, because otherwise I'll have to restart the broadcast. If you can't hear anything, hopefully you can type that in and let me know. So anyway, I'm so glad you're here today. The Q&A stuff that I normally get, that I get in emails and all over the place, a lot of times has to do with questions that you frequently have. Hey, good morning, Lori. I'm so glad you have typed up to me and tell me you're here. Yeah, so I'm just talking about the questions that come through, and I get questions all over the place. I get them on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on email, YouTube, everything. And so they kind of come all over the place. So sometimes I try and answer them here if I can. I like to do that. And also it's kind of nice because sometimes I can show you an example. So anyway, it's really good. Good to see you. Lori, thanks for joining me. Sorry, I'm looking down. I'm actually knitting right here. Working up my sample pillow here. It's kind of an unusual day right now. Lori, can you hear me okay? Do I have a good connection for you? So I've got my iPad here. I was going to kind of show up some things on navigating on my iPad on YouTube. And you have a good connection? Okay, that's good. I don't have as many people hopping on. It's just unusual because usually by now I have several people hopping on and saying hello, and it makes me think that there's an issue. Okay, good. Hey, Marion, I'm so glad you're hopping on and telling me hello. Hey, I see Joanne is jumping in here. She hasn't said anything yet, but I can see when she signs on, because if we're friends on Facebook, I can see you jump on. So, yeah, I'm just working up my sample. So I was staying up late last night knitting, and trying to get this done. And, oh my gosh, I worked on stuff and I frogged stuff and I worked and I frogged. I don't know what my problem was. I just kept, I don't know what I was doing, not thinking. So I'm not as far along on my knitting as I wanted to be. Hey, Patty, good morning. Hey, Joanne, thanks for commenting. I'm so glad you're here. I think Carol's out today. She had an appointment today. So, oh, see, and now I'm talking, I'm dropping my stitches here. All right, let me make sure I'm not dropping anything else. I probably should be looking at what I'm doing, but anyway. Oh, yeah, knitting while tired. Is that a thing, KWT? Knitting while tired? I watched War and Peace last night, y'all. I'm not sure that I've actually watched that before. I went ahead and bought it on iTunes. Like I have an Apple TV, and so I'll buy or rent a digital movie, and so I watched that. That actually helped my knitting. Before that, I was just aimlessly, I don't know what my deal was, but I was knitting while I was tired, so I mean, I had to go to bed. Good morning. Hey, hi Ellie, I see you jumping on. Susan, hello, hello. Okay, so I am, oh yeah, it's a thing. You've learned your lesson the hard way. Yeah, I've fallen asleep knitting. Oh yeah, CWT, crochet while knitting. I mean, like, that's a thing that people like write that a thing. I'm real bad about like seeing the letters for stuff, and I have to like pause and I have to really think about it, you know. Like when you're in like a mommy group on Facebook or a forum or something, and then they're like, you know, stay at home with kids, SAH, no. I read those, and sometimes like everything is an initial for something, and I'm like, I can't read this. This group is causing me anxiety. Am I the only one? Oh my gosh. Good morning, Steven. I see you jumping on. Just looking at my knitting here. Pardon me. So I was kind of waiting until I have a few more people hop on. If you have a question for me today, I'd be happy to answer that. I'm going to be stopping at about 9:15, and so any questions I get before that, I will try and answer. And anyway, but I did want to show you guys YouTube and how to navigate my site, and how to navigate where my playlists are. If you don't know where stuff is, you might find it when I start showing you here. So yeah. Hey Heather, I see you jumping on. Ellie says I don't get all those letters all the time either. Yeah, and there's new ones all the time, so you have to like keep an Urban Dictionary on hand. Like, I'm like asking Siri, what does this mean? I ask her stuff all the time. She doesn't always answer. She's like, let me think about that, Kristen. Don't think about it. Look it up. Look that stuff up, man. Well, in nitty news, okay, so I have a tutorial that should be coming out hopefully later on today, and then the blog should be up. We've got Yarnspirations. Yay! My first tutorial with Yarnspirations should be coming up soon, and I guest blogged for them, so you'll be finding that there. So if you'll be sure and check out Yarnspirations. Also sign up for their newsletter. That would be a good one. And if you go to their YouTube channel, just go to youtube.com/Yarnspirations, and you will find that, or type in Yarnspirations in their search bar, or in the YouTube search bar, and then you'll find that channel, and go ahead and click to subscribe, and you'll get all the goodie stuff from them. And yeah, oh, you Google a Marion. So anyway, that tutorial, we're doing a men's scarf, and I thought that would be a great one to start off for Yarnspirations. I haven't done a bunch of men's scarves, and I think those are projects that are really lacking. We tend to do a lot of things that are focused on women, and I totally think that's great. But I don't know, just something. I just felt like doing that, and then I found a whole pattern set of theirs that had 6 men's patterns, and I picked one, and I was like, hey, I want to teach how to do this, and I thought it'd be nice. So you can knit one up, and I made it chunky style because the original one was done in Karen Soft, and I believe is a worsted weight, and so I ended up doing mine in Softy Chunky to make it nice and bulkier and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm excited for my first blog with Yarnspirations. Yay! And I'm working on my first tutorial that'll be on my channel for Yarn Inspirations. So if you don't know, I am the new knitting host for Yarn Inspirations, and I will be working on knitting and sometimes even crochet. I'd like to work in some loom knitting and everything for them. I will still continue loom knitting on my own channel for sure. I don't know if the loom knitting will show up on theirs or not, but all three I'm very much interested in. I had someone the other day say, "Oh, I'm just worried that you're not going to be doing loom knitting anymore." No, don't worry about that. I will be doing that. I had to ramp up some other things in needles for a little bit. I have had a lot of people who are needle knitter, who are loom knitters who are transitioning to include needles in their repertoire, so they're learning. I don't think they'll completely abandon needles, the loom, but they might. I don't know. I never did. I like doing all of them. So anyway, so that's good. Okay, so Stephen wants to know, how about doing a top-down sweater for a loom? That is a good question, Stephen, like a raglan or something. That is, gosh, I haven't done that because, quite honestly, honestly, the big wearables, I don't do that much because of the weather I'm in. I'm in Texas, so I don't do like sweater stuff. It's just too hot here. But I can look into doing that. I haven't done the raglan on the loom, but also because when I've looked at it, it just seemed like I'd have to make a lot of transitions, and I don't like to do that. I try and simplify it as much as possible. But I can look into that and see if there's one that I can do. Marion, yeah, you're a loom knitter. And I'd like to do this one that I just did for them. To do that on the loom, I need to get that sample going. And so that will, and eventually, like the video that I did for them on this scarf, this is the one that's going to go up. That scarf is going to be eventually on my channel, but it goes up on Yarn Inspirations first. And I'd like to do also a loom one, so that way people can follow along. Now, not all patterns I'll be able to just immediately do in both. There are some that are just going to be a little bit more like, that's way easier on the needles, but there could be stuff that I'm like, that's way easier on the loom. So anyway, sometimes I just think getting that appropriate tool will work better. Good morning, Martha. I see you. How about making things, small things for pets, or things for small pets? That sounds good. Let's see. Lee says you never, sorry, I missed that. Never done loom knitting and you're interested. Awesome. Lee, do you already crochet or use needles? The loom is great. I'm sorry. Can y'all hear that? That's my trash man outside. Actually, it'd be good to know if y'all can pick up on that noise. I don't have a quiet studio. That would be nice. I'm not that ritzy. I don't have anybody who's coming in soundproofing my studio. Let's see. Good morning, Teresa. I see you jumped on. And Chris, good morning. You're sitting and knitting too? Yeah. Susan, you love your loom knitting stuff, but most patterns don't look like my stuff. My personal patterns. Oh, Lee. Okay, so you are on needles, but only knit. That's great. Well, Lee, I'll tell you that I think if you ever want to do double knitting, or you haven't done double knitting on needles and you've been intimidated by it, look into doing double knitting on the loom. I've got a recent video on making an Afghan on the loom. There's this really long knitting board, and it's 28 inches, and I made this really sweet throw. I mean, it's like, you could add a couple panels together, but it's nice and stretchy, and actually it works with that homespun yarn. It makes it easier to work with. Actually, you can see the stitches. It's actually kind of fun you end up weaving it around the board and then looping over and making a really beautiful stockinette. Check that out. That's a good one. I'll have to get you the link later on. Joanne is getting ready to start her first sweater on the loom. It will be pieced together as there are some issues you need to resolve before trying a one-piece sweater. Yeah, absolutely, Joanne. That's a great point. Yeah, piecing it together is the way to go. I've done like a baby sweater and it gets pieced together. And I think those are absolutely doable. Actually, and if you wanted to do a cardigan that's double knit or something, you can do that very easily because you can do all the different sections double knit. In fact, you could do the arms and the main body in double, and you could just do a single collar and have it turn over, or do like a kind of a simple curled collar or something like that. So anyway, let's see. Heather, do you have any other stick than E-wrap and figure eight on the S loom? Any other stitch? I'm sorry. Yeah, you can, well, first of all, you can do any stitch on the S loom. Like double knitting. Now it depends if you're working with a Cindywood loom that's made for you to double knit, where she has like colored pegs, and those are the ones that you skip when you're double knitting. She's got it really set up really well. Knitting Board's S loom isn't really truly made for double knitting, so like the gap is really big, and so you have to work with multiple strands of yarn for double knitting. But just speaking for plain like flat panel knitting, going back, not that it's plain. Okay, you can do really fancy stuff, but I just mean not making it a double thick fabric, but just thin back and forth. You can do any stitch on the S loom, and I think some people have the, well, not to say some people, a lot of people, for some reason, I get this question a lot as far as just stitches. Like I'll show a stitch on one loom and people are like, but can you do it on this loom? Or can you do it on this loom? I will answer it this way. That's like if someone says, can I make my sweater in green when you made it in blue? Yes. You just pick a different yarn. Can I do this stitch on this loom? Yes, you just pick the different stitch and go. You just get, you get the loom that you want with the spacing that you want. You get the yarn that's appropriate for that. And then you want to use a stitch that's appropriate. So like you wouldn't want to, if you want something like a nice tight knit, you wouldn't use an E-wrap, because an E-wrap is going to be, you're actually knitting, if anybody's a needle knitter and you're not a loom knitter, when you wrap a peg that goes around in a formation like this, like in circles all the way around, it looks like a little E. That's what people call the E-wrap. It's actually knitting through the back loop. It's a stretchier knit, and it flips and it turns this normal V stitch into a Y, and so it makes it like really stretchy. It adds extra yarn in. Anyway, so you can do any kind of sequencing that you like. You can get a stitch book. Let's see. Oh, my stitch dictionary is just out of reach. You can do, I've got a crochet one over here, and then my stitch one's like that much further away. I can't get it. But anyway, you can you could do any stitch pattern. There's a really good little book, like inexpensive. I'm sorry, my stand is just moving on me. Here we go. Inexpensive little book. Kathy Norris just did one. It's this little stitch dictionary. It's like $10, less than $10. And it's got some great little stitches in there. Let's see. No one from Michael's. No one from Michael. Oh, it's the one from Michael's. Yeah, it's like this Serenity loom. I don't think that one's made for double knitting either. It's just for flat panel. And but yeah, you can do anything that you use on a regular loom. So if you're like, if you've seen me do the chain lace stitch, or you can do the diamond lace stitch, which some people call the figure eight stitch, but it just works back and forth on that same side. I'm trying to find a loom. Oh my gosh, I don't have all my stuff. It's weird in this office, this new studio that I have, and I have everything kind of packed away when I'm not using it. It's like I can't grab it. So sorry, I'm looking for a visual aid to show you. But if I have a board and I have all my needles like lined up like this, and then I have a backboard here on the S loom, I can just work all along here where all these pegs are, and then when I come back to it, I'll fill in that other one. So you're just working back and forth along one side of the rake, the loom, the rake, and getting that done. here, let me just show you my YouTube page here. So, hey Amber, I see you. I'm going to pull up YouTube right now and show you some things. Let's go in here and let's see. I've got about another 10-15 minutes, okay? And I'm going to show you. Let's go get this in here. Okay. So I am on my YouTube channel, and I've gone to youtube.com/GoodKnitKisses. I would encourage you to go to any of your favorite YouTubers page. And first of all, if you don't have an account, get an account. If you have a Gmail account, you probably already have a YouTube account, and try and hit subscribe and see what it does. So, and then you can actually get alerts for those people and get it in your inbox. But if you go directly to their channel page, you go to youtube.com/ the name of the channel page. And if you're not sure, just whenever you find their page name in a video that you've seen, you click on that name, and then it'll go to their channel page. So, hey, good morning, Carrie. I see you. I'm going to flip over here. I'm going to show you all my iPad here. Okay, so let me see if I can make this closer here. Okay, sorry. Technical difficulties here. Okay, so I have, I'm on this page here, and this is the Good Knit Kisses page. Now, it's as seen on an iPad. So that's just my little banner up the top, and then it says the subscribe button. So if you're not subscribed, you just hit that button. And then, let's see if I can point with something. Then I've got my kind of my welcome, this is actually a welcome video here. And then I scroll up. These are uploads. And then I've got my main, oh, shoot. Hit the button with my palm here. Okay. So these are the recent uploads, and it's just in reverse chronological order here. Hey, Michelle, I see you. And then you can open up for more. But this here is the playlist, and I've got, it says Good Knit Kisses main category, start here, always hit load more in the playlist. So like you see just a few here, but really what you want to do is open it up. But I've got kind of my top 3 here, should be coming up as the first ones you have. So like this is the loom knitting category, and then there's the needle knit category. So they both start with knit, and then in parentheses it'll say loom or needles, and then we have crochet. But that doesn't mean that's all my playlists. These are, you can also go to popular uploads, and these are top playlists here, and these are my needle ones and beginner loom knitting. But if you just go to this page here rather than scrolling down, you can click on that, and it goes to all the playlists. Okay, well, it's supposed to. Let's see, all playlists. Okay, so you just click on here, and then you can find what you need. If you go to Loom Knitting Library, it's going to have like all these cast-ons here. It says Loom Knit Cast-On Overview with Swatches, so you can see all the different swatches and stuff, and it leads you to all these other videos. Like, so this is the Loom Knit Cast-On with E-Wrap. This is the one with long tail or long tail ribbed cast-on. Then you've got the half hitch or reverse E-wrap. It's also called the backward loop. And so I kind of go over all these different cast-ons here, and there are more cast-ons than that. Got a adjustable cast-on, a purl cast-on, a picot cast-on, a picot bind-off, triple rib stitch, double rib stitch, a quick weighted garter stitch, chain one bind-off, and then I can hit show more items, and it just keeps going. So like these are these different techniques and stuff. Oh, by the way, here's the book I was talking about. This one right here. This Loom Knit Stitch Dictionary. I should have a link to it on my page, on the shop page. I have like an Amazon list of stuff. But the Loom Knitting Library doesn't have everything. It's got a lot of main basic techniques, and then you go over, and if you click on Loom, there's 193 videos in here. I think I actually have more, but they're not all on here. Like, I don't put reviews. Most reviews aren't in here.
This was an overview I did several years ago. If you're just kind of looking at a general overview for looms and some appropriate yarn, that was at that time though. Here's the swatches overview. A little more items. Hold on. Okay, so we get in here, and then I talk about like ribbing, roll-free edge for hat or blanket. So this is a good way to start. So if you go through here, you'll find techniques and stuff like how to get on an S loom, how to chain onto there. Anyway, tons of techniques are on here. So you just kind of go through this. This is also a garter stitch, so it doesn't curl. I'm finishing off this one. Not everybody knows about finishing off the loose end of a panel. If like your edging is like really open and loose, you can actually finish it off with a crochet hook. There's actually another technique now. Scarlett has come up with a technique, and she basically starts kind of pulling the extra slack out. I haven't done that, and you can certainly do it. This other way is faster, but you might like the way that she does that. So the let's see, other E-wrap stitches. Okay, purl stitch. This one right here is a good one. This is Loom Talk needle knit versus loom. It's the different knit stitches, U knit and U and flat and E-wrap. It's just for reference. So it's a good little, a lot of these are good ones to just like play. So you could just play this in the background. If you're not interested, just hit the next button, but you can let it kind of keep going. So if you're like knitting and stuff, you could just play on a playlist and it'll just keep going. And you might just listen and find out, because a lot of times during my videos, I'll put little tips inside. And so if you're just listening to them, you might pick up on a tip. Talk about double knit stitches here. This is where I talk about that double knit figure 8 stitch, the twisted knit, this one I was just talking about making a quickie baby blanket on, sewing panels together for invisible seams, increasing by 2, a yarn over, a popcorn or bobble stitch. This is a herringbone. So like you're starting to see more and more stitches. It kind of gets more complicated as we go. This is the figure 8, or it's the diamond lace stitch, but some people still call it the figure 8 or fishnet. Then I also came up with how to increase on the edges and sides, and also decreasing, because I had to go through it for a while trying to figure out the best way to evenly decrease. And so I worked that out. And so that's what those videos are. And then making a triangle, doing formulas for ear flaps and visors, decreasing crowns, that kind of stuff. There's a ton of stuff you may not know I have, but some of it's several years old. Weaving in the drawstring of a hat. This is a granny round here. So there is a lot on here that you may or may not know about. But if you'll go through this listing, you'll begin to see some things. Here's a easy knit loom knit mesh bag that I've got. Here's some flowers that are done with these little picos. There's 2 different ones. You can make it a double flower or singles. Let's see, this is a little soap bag, little ornament here. This is the dewdrop shawl, and then we've got the drop stitch infinity scarf, the hexagon blanket, a picot shawl. This is the clapotee. It's a really beautiful, it's like a stole. It's like a really wide scarf. It's kind of like a shawl, but kind of like a scarf and a shawl at the same time. It's not as wide as a regular shawl, but anyway, that's technically a stole. Anyway, it comes in like these 5 sections. So you want to start on number 5. I mean, on number 1, and then work your way through. And that's why I have these in the playlist. But I do have individual playlists for a lot of these, but this is kind of nice to just have everything in here. This one right here, if you're looking for a learning video that really challenges you, this pattern here, the loom, this is a loom along the chic retreat cowl. Okay, this lets you do the Indian cross stitch. So if you're familiar with needles, you can do the Indian cross stitch on the loom. It also does another stitch that you don't normally find on loom, which is the chain lace stitch, and that was developed by Bethany Daly. And so I incorporated several stitches in here. So you end up, you cast on, you do a rib, you do the diamond lace stitch, you do the chain lace stitch, you do another diamond lace, you work with the Indian cross stitch, and then it basically gets repeated, and then you learn how to alternate. So you work with a cable needle, you do all kinds of things. So if you really want to challenge yourself, I would suggest making this one of your New Year's resolutions to do this one. Now, I work through the pattern and I show it and I pause, and you can rewind and do all that stuff, but I also do sell the pattern. So if you do want it, because this was a monster to write, so it does make it easier if you have the pattern and you can print it off or whatever. This thing here was, someone asked me to do this thing. They were doing this yarn bombing with lanterns, so I helped her with that. And then let's see, there's that mesh bag, and this is, I already had the bag all as in one video up towards the top, but this is it in sections. And how to make an easy pom-pom. And then these are just different decreasing crowns, wet blocking methods, talking about the Martha Stewart. Let's see. When the Martha Stewart loom came along, that's when a lot of people who were using the plastic looms suddenly got the ability to change if you had a shorter distance, instead of just having an extra large gappy loom, to having something that goes down to a small gauge loom. Now, if you have had a Kiss loom, then you know that you can adjust your gauge all these years, but for plastic looms that were on the mass market, that just didn't exist before then. And so when I made this video, we were talking about what yarn you can use and the stitches and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, this is Kiss looms. You get to hear a little bit more from Kelly here. Pattern Reading 101, excuse me. These are really good ones if you want to follow along an actual book, a pattern that was given by Leisure Arts. Leisure Arts gave me permission. They actually asked me to do this, and then we had a giveaway on some of these, excuse me, some of these books. And so you can actually see select patterns for some of these pattern reading series here. There's a book review. This is a book by Bethany Daly. Let's see. This knitting board is an adjustable hat loom, so it kind of does a bit of the Martha Stewart. However, hers, the knitting board one here, stays a whole lot better than the Martha Stewart. It is not as large, like you can't make this really huge, long adjustable hat loom, but you can get another hat loom set if you want to have two sets and make them longer like the Martha Stewart. This is the 28-inch knitting board, and this is one I was talking about, like when it's long like this, you can do the double knitting on, but you can also use this one here with these big long extenders, or you can even buy these slidable ones, sliding extenders, and then make it more adjustable. This is a double knit setup for the knitting board, so if you wanted to use the S loom in double knitting, I talk about which pegs to mark and stuff. And then anyway, so I'm just concentrating on loom right here, but you can see how there's just a ton of things in here for the loom, and just these are more and more patterns and things, things that you may not know that were in here. Here's a hooded wrap. This is another one that, whoops, how to read the pattern, and I go through, it's an hour-long tutorial and go through how to do that. I even added faux fur onto it, which was not part of it. This is making a loom knit diagonal baby throw. You can also do this for a washcloth too. So anyway, there's a ton of things on here. This is talking about the slip slip purl, the knit two together, yarn over knit, anyway, just tons of, anyway, it just keeps going and going. So that's that. And then oh, and there was a cable scarf at the end there. Oh, anyway, cable scarf in there somewhere. So that's a huge playlist, and that's just on the loom. And then we have the needle playlist, oops, the needle playlist. And what I try to do is put these intuitively in order. So like if you're trying to start knitting, this has got the overview. It's funny because I mentioned in these other videos that I have this overview video that talks about the needles and stuff, and it's in my description. But if you'll click on description on any person's video, go and see if they refer to any other links and stuff, because I refer to this. It answers questions before I even started these, and so a lot of times people miss this, but it does talk about the needles and suggestions and yarn and stuff. And then I made the how to knit cast on. This one's got, what is it, 4 million views now, 5 million views. This cast on video has been very helpful to many people. And then sometimes I get this thing, it's like people go, speed up, you need to slow down, you need to speed up, you need to slow down. I'm like, oh my gosh. So what I did is I made a slow motion version, basically just grabbing the video from here and slowing it down on a few stitches. And so this is a slow-mo version. And then this one is how to knit, and I made a slow-mo version on that. And then this is how to purl, which this is a very big problem solver. If you've had a problem with purling before, I approach this differently than other instructors, and it's been very helpful to many people. So I'm not bragging here. I really am not, but I'm saying I intentionally made this slow, and I made this very purposeful because this was a pain point for me when I first started learning how to needle knit. I didn't like how other people were instructing me. I got very frustrated. I couldn't do, apparently, anyway, I couldn't retain the information. And so anyway, so the way I teach it here is I teach it in a way that I hope that you remember it, and then you keep, like, not that you remember me afterward, but then you just remember how to do the stitch. And so that's that one. And then the bind off is just a basic bind off, talking about making a swatch and knowing how to measure your swatch, do a swatch gauge. This is the cable cast on. This is a long tail cast on. And then here's a whole pattern, reading a pattern. So if you ever want to make a hat and it says, make a hat, oops, make a hat. Ah, shoot, I'm losing my thing. Hang on. Oh my gosh. I don't know what I did. I got so into my video, I'm not even paying attention to my tripod. Okay, so if you've ever had anybody say, make a hat on straight needles, and you're like, what the heck? I can't make a hat on straight needles. What it is you're doing, you're making a flat panel, and then you'll end up decreasing, and then you have to seam it together, and this pattern does that. So, no, Ellie, I don't have continental knitting on my list. I need to have some videos on there. Are you looking for continental knitting? Let's see, the knitting lesson here. So if you're wanting a knitting lesson, we go through making a garter border square. Not so much that you'd want to make a bunch of squares like this, but it's more like learning how to make it. Like, so imagine you made a massive blanket this way. Maybe you like the middle part being stockinette, but you're like, why does it curl if I try and make stockinette everywhere? Well, that's because you need knits and purls worked in there, not just all one stitch. Knitting through the back loop. This is that, like the E-wrap on the loom. Then you got the herringbone. So I've got a herringbone on needle and loom. Yarn Class 101. So if you're new to knitting, Yarn Class 101 is a good one, because when you're online, you're like, what is this? What is this? People are saying words and lingo. And so I talk about yarn lingo in here. So if you were afraid to ask a question, ask it in here, or I may have already answered in here. I also do some math stuff at the end. So if you want something, just play it and listen. This is a good one while you're working on your project to listen to. Then we talk about increasing. This is an overview, and then these are the actual increase videos. And okay. How to wet block. I put that in both videos, both playlists, if you were in here earlier. This is, I'm not sure why this is in here. This is a loom knit video, so I'm going to, I think I put this in here just as a reference, just in case. The brioche stitch, if you're interested in the brioche, if you want to know how to make the duplicate stitch, which technically isn't knitting, but it's put into here because you may have a knitting project, and it'll say, okay, now you need to do the duplicate stitch. Well, the duplicate stitch is not working with your regular needles. It's taking a tapestry needle and working on top of the stitches. And then this is a knitting class that I did from live on Facebook that I talked about. So that's those. And then we have a crochet one as well. Oh, shoot. Dude, I hit the wrong button. I have the crochet list, but also there are other lists. There's crafts and other, these are overview ones. And then, like if you want reviews and things, you can go in here. If you want all the created playlists, you can see it. Like there's some for long loom only. This is beginner loom knitting. You might try the beginner loom knitting. Beginner double knit, loom techniques, loom stitches, loom along videos, left hand crochet, crochet along videos. Anyway, these are all kind of in a random order, but anyway, go through playlists of me and other people and find out what they have. Like I made a Zippy playlist. Like if you have the Zippy loom, these are all the videos that I have that are on the Zippy. So they're like in one spot. There's 10 videos right now. If you played it, it would play for an hour and 42 minutes. Not that you're going to sit here and play all my videos and listen to me yammer on for that long, but at least you got an idea. And then you can also click on videos and then see what they are in reverse chronological order, or you can look at the most popular or the date added or something. I wouldn't necessarily look at what's the most popular. I would go through and find what you need. But the main key is if you're on here and you want to search, you can go to your search bar at the top, but on the desktop, not on this iPad, but on a desktop or laptop, when you click down here, there will be an actual extra little search area, not the one up here, but the one down here. When you type in and you search on a person's channel page, it will search just their videos. So if you have a keyword, it'll search only their videos, and it's very helpful. So I'm gonna refocus. Hey, back to me. So let's see if I can get this working right here. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Trying to get it back up, and it's like being goofy boofy. Is it a word? Which is my favorite loom? Sorry, I'm trying to refocus here. Let's see. Which is my favorite loom? That is a good question. I think my go-to loom, I'm sorry, hold on. This is really bothering me. It's like, okay. Sorry. That was in a really awkward position. I'm like, I can't think. My favorite loom, sorry, let me hang on. Pregnant pause. That is a tough question. That's really tough because I'm not trying to show favorites here. That's not my goal, but I think the first one I think of most of the time is the all-in-one loom. That's kind of my go-to. However, depending upon what it is, I might want to grab a Kiss loom for checking gauge, and but let's see. You know what's really funny? Sometimes I like to test things, like, cause I like things that are quick. Do you like things that are quick? So I like the 12 peg flower loom to test with. It's like an extra large gauge. It's like, it's 3/4. It could be like a 15, or maybe it's 19 needle. I'd have to look. Anyway, I like that. I like that for testing stitch patterns and stuff. It's really, really easy. So anyway, that's random that's one of my favorites. I have a few that I go and grab really fast. I do still love the old Nifty Knitter 48 peg 5/8 loom that I like to grab a lot. I like that gauge. It's really nice. So let's see.
Ellie's wanting continental knitting, and you've got the knit stitch down. The purl is tough when you get a chance. Yeah, Ellie. So continental knitting is something I am learning. I've got the knit stitch down, and the purl is kicking me because, well, for a few reasons, but yeah. I've seen the way that, and I've had people show me, and I've looked at other people's videos, and I mean, not all of them, and I'm not spending all my time on that. Like, I'll do it and try it for a moment and it's not working, but I get back to my project. So when I'm learning something, it takes me a while because I end up putting a back seat on my learning, and I'll start working on things that I'm supposed to be doing, like, project wise. So anyway, when I learn how to do that in a really effective, better way, then I will teach it. But until then, I don't want to teach it until I'm really comfortable with it, because what I want to do is I want to do it not to show you, look what I can do. I want to make sure that I have a really, really good way to remember how to do it faster, to do it more effectively. And because like, I could go and I could do it someone's technique, and I could purl, and I could get that all down. My problem is when I go back and forth. Like, so if I'm going to do a rib, I'm going to knit and purl. The problem is if I start going back and forth, I start kind of losing that rhythm that I just got. And so I need to be better at that. So that's my long-winded answer to that. I will do it just when I get more comfortable. Amber says, my nephew wants a blanket that would be quicker to get it done on needles or on the loom. Amber, it depends on what you're doing. If you want to double knit it and have like a nice thick blanket, like a blanket type, not just like a pretty Afghan, double knitting would be a great way to do it. If you'll check out that Afghan video that I recently did, let me see if I can tell you the name of the video. Go to, it's the Easy Double Knit Blanket on the 28-inch knitting board loom. You knit it all in one piece. There it is. Okay, so it's got it draped over my chair. Anyway, that's a really easy blanket, and you can sew like 2 panels together and get something like super big. So that's a good one. Let's see. Heather says, I put on a lesson when you want to craft when none of your craft friends can craft with you. Oh, that's so good. Oh, I'm so glad. Heather, you have to check out that video of me shopping at Joann's. Maybe you might like watching that then. I have a playlist for fun, like knitting and yarny fun. I'm trying to remember what the name of the playlist is. It may just say fun. But anyway, I need to add the shopping trip to that. But I think it has some knitting songs and some other things. It might have some stuff. I don't even think it's all stuff I've done. I think I've added some other people's stuff. So anyway, yeah. If y'all come across a fun knitting video, let me know. Maybe I could add it to the playlist. Or if I have it, I may have it to where it's available for you to add stuff to. Let's see, Ellie. Oh, she says your equipment has to get used to the new digs. I know. My tripod I don't know, it's seen better days. I was actually thinking, yeah, I've been saying for months now that I need to go get a new tripod. It's getting to that store. Oh my gosh, I have to go to the store, and it takes like forever to get to because I have to go on the stinking highway that's got tons of construction. And I don't want to go on it. Because I've been working from home now, I don't have to get on that highway every day. Then I'm like, yay! But when I have to go to the store and go that direction, I'm like, no. So, yeah. So, anyway, Jewel Fly, I said something she never thought of. Well, yay! I don't know what that was, but I'm so glad. Let's see. Martha says, how old were you when you started all your yarn craft? Who got you interested in this? That's a great question. It's kind of a funny answer because when I was younger, I wanted to learn how to crochet. My grandmother, my grandmother was doing it, but she had been sewing a whole bunch, and so she wanted me to, um, I don't know. I've been trying to remember if she actually tried teaching me and she just couldn't or whatever, but one of my great aunts actually ended up teaching me, but she lived further away. And so I never like continued it because like how could I remember the lesson? And so I did it and I didn't really retain it. And then I figured out on my own because I had this yarn left from it. I just kind of made up finger knitting. Someone said something like, oh, you can work the yarn around your fingers. And I'm like, okay. And so I just made up how to do it. And so I started finger knitting. I think I was in second grade or third grade. But I know by third grade, I got in trouble. And because I was like obsessing over it and I was doing it in class and I was a faster reader then. I don't say that I'm actually a fast reader now, but I was faster than my class at that time. And so I would pick up my stuff and I would start working it in silence, you know. And I got in trouble one day and she's like, you have to stop because then I keep picking it up at inappropriate times. So I kind of put that down because I had gotten in trouble. And then I started doing other crafting and stuff. So it wasn't until I was an adult, after my third child, that I had postpartum depression, Martha, that I started crafting with needles. I really, honestly, it was in prayer. And I said, God, I know I can take some pills and I know that that's okay. And I know that this and that, but I feel like I'm missing something. Like I felt like I was missing something. And I'm like, I know it's not you. And I'm like, there's something going on and I feel crazy. And he's like, well, you're missing your crafty. Because I was in a very creative job, interior design. I love space planning. I love putting things together and making the most of a space. And I did commercial space planning. And I worked for a floor covering company and I could do commercial and residential. And I did carpet tile. Anyway, all kinds of fun stuff. But I was like missing that hands-on crafting creative. Like I was really good at the computer. I did AutoCAD and stuff like that. That wasn't crafting. And so he reminded me of my friend Tammy that I had noticed. She's in Colorado and she is on needles. And we had recently kind of reconnected. She used to live in California. And then we had like this disconnect for years. Her parents had gotten divorced and we had lost contact and they had moved to anyway. So we reconnected on Facebook and I remembered he just said Tammy. And so I thought back to Tammy and she's knitting and I had thought, oh, I would love to do that one day. So then a year later in 2010, I ended up learning how to knit. I like bought my funny story. I had never purchased anything online, and years before, my father-in-law bought me an eBay gift card because I wasn't sure about buying purchases. I didn't want to purchase online with my own credit card, and I was scared at that time. It's funny because by the time I ended up using it, I was comfortable with it. But anyway, so I found this old eBay gift card for like $30 and I found on Amazon, I taught myself how to knit. I taught myself how to crochet kits. And so I spent that money, had to have shipping included. I think I had like $1 or $2 left and I had them shipped to me. And that day when I got them, I think I was up for a 3 a.m. feeding or something. And I was like, I'm going to the store. And so I went to the store and bought some yarn after I had looked over the instructions. And I had actually looked at the instructions and I was like, this is harder than I want. And at the time they hadn't updated the kits and they looked a little like, I didn't really like enjoy the patterns that were necessarily in there, but I'm like, okay, I just have to go and do some of this stuff. Cause I know there's cute stuff out there. And so, I went to the store and I was overwhelmed. And at the time Walmart still had like a really nice big section. Like, I think it was like 5 or 6 aisles of yarn. And like now it's what, 1? So it was before they started like dumbing it down or whatever. And so I go into the store and I bought me some yarn. I bought black yarn, y'all. That was so dumb. Bought black yarn because I'm like, I wear black all the time. This is one of my old work shirts. Like I've got like a black cami and then this is black and blue. It's like the most color I would wear. And anyway, so yeah. So, but while I was there, I passed by several times. I found the knitting looms and I was like, that looks easier. And I kept passing by and it was like $11.97 or something. Yeah, for a round set. And then it was like more for the long looms. And so I was like, after the third time of me passing by, I was like, okay, I'm buying this thing. And so I bought it and went home and I tried stuff on the needles. I tried some crochet and I tried the loom and I was like, hot dog, I'm doing this right now. And it was actually better because when I was doing it on the needles and stuff at the time, I had carpal tunnel that was like really bothering me. And so, and especially the way I was holding it and it was like cramping down, it was hard. And so anyway, so I'm sorry, you asked well, you didn't ask a long-winded question. I am long-winded. I'm sorry, Martha. And so, anyway, but I felt better. Yeah. And so my mind was channeled and thinking on other things. And, it made me feel better. And then I would just gravitate to it. I just kept going to it and going to it. I was getting therapy. I was learning something. It was interesting to me. I was telling everybody about what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. Yay. And people were like, you're weird, but I'm so glad that you're happy. And I'm like, yeah. So I got so interested in that. I ended up crocheting. I ended up like somehow stumbled into doing necklaces. And so I started doing crochet wire necklaces and then I started selling those. And I was just like, other people need to know how to do this, you know, like, and I had a hard time with the instructions because they were crappy on the loom. And I'm like, I could teach how to do this better than how I'm seeing the instructions. And so I started teaching other people how to do it. It also helped me retain the memory on it because I had had a head injury back in 1995. And it was harder for me to retain stuff and I had to do stuff over and over again. And actually me writing something down or me videoing it and looking back at whatever I said or wrote or did was easier for me to maintain. So anyway, yeah. So Chris, continental purling is easy for you. That's great. I'm sure it is. I can continental purl when I'm just purling and I can do it. Mine is the going back and forth though. Amber says, me too. I can't purl. Kelly has helped me, but I can't get it. Anyway, oh, Chris says continental purl is much easier than regular and very easy to switch back and forth. I'm sure it is. But the way I'm doing it, it's popping off and I'm not, anyway. Let's see. Steven says, am I the only one who thinks every project seems to want a different loom? Absolutely, Steven. Yeah. No, I mean, she wanted to know what my go-to, like my favorite one was, but that's why it's hard for me to pick a favorite. And that's why I have about 4 bins at least, probably more than that. Underneath my, my project table right here, I've got this table next to me. It's tall. It's got like 4 big bins underneath it of looms because when I'm ready for a project, I go rifling through and I'm like, okay, here's the thing and that, you know, so yeah. So I use multiple looms and it seems like you probably have a very creative mind, Steven. And like there's some people who only want to do dishcloths. I believe it or not, some people only want to do dishcloths or only want to do scarves or only want to do hats. There are people who do that. There are people who make a big variety of things with the same loom. Some people do it because their budget is limited. Other people do it because they just love the loom or the feel or because they're limited by certain mobility issues and then that's the one that they use. I don't have that issue. My issue is I get bored and I can't bring myself to do the same thing over and over again. That's why I have a million whips. Works in progress. All these works in progress over here that I keep going on. So okay, and how many browsers do you have open right now? How many tabs are open in your browsers? That's what I want to know. Hey, everybody, type in, I don't even know the number. If you don't even know, like you have so many, you don't even know, just say, I have no clue. So just say, it's because I'm creative, right? Anyway, Amber says he wants the colors of the rainbow. It's going to take me forever. Oh my gosh. Amber, you need to get you some red heart with all the colors of the rainbow, or get you some Karen cake. Let's see. Where's the Karen cake? I got my Karen cake. What's the one that I did the other day? The Karen cake that I had, that has all the colors of the rainbow. Anyway, I did that on the 10 stitch, and that's a perfect one. You can do that because it will color change for you and it looks like a freaking rainbow. So it won't take you forever, girl. Oh, hey, Karen. Yeah, she's in Port Arthur. Awesome, awesome. Jewelfly, oh, LOL, Tessie with a longer. Oh, I'm way behind in my comments, apparently. Oh, my goodness. Chris says black yarn is a nightmare to work with. That was very brave of you. Yeah. I wish, I keep looking for my thing. Hang on. I don't have it. I have, oh, I think I know where it is. Y'all want to wait and see my first project I did? I did it with, see, I didn't end. I was supposed to end 30 minutes ago, y'all. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to see if I can find my first hat. Y'all want to see my first hat? It's out of black yarn. Oh, it's not in here. Oh, darn it. See, Summer helped me reorganize some stuff, and now I can't find it. Oh, shoot, man. I'll have to find it on another day. But I did this newsboy hat in black yarn, and I made up the pattern. I had no idea how to do it. Every time I went to look at instructions, I couldn't understand them, or they were written in a way that was just not easily understandable. And so I figured out how to do a visor hat within the first month of me actually loom knitting, and made it way out of gauge because I had the wrong yarn for the loom. It wasn't that I had a wrong loom, which I did and I didn't. If I had the right yarn, it would have been better. But anyway, at the time, it seemed like all you could find was a ton of worsted, and the looms were made too large of a gauge. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, I was talking about how I got started in knitting. Thank you, Amber. Yeah, I'm completely behind. Chris says for continental, you kind of use your needle almost like a crochet hook, so it's easy. You wish you could show me. Hey, you want to send me a little video of how you do it? You can send it to me a private message, Chris. There's so many different methods out there. Joanne says 5. You have 5 tabs in your open? That's nothing, honey. Susan says, have you ever translated any patterns from overseas? You've done one so far. Yes, Susan, I have, but it was a pain. There's been a couple of Russian ones that I've tried to translate. I think there was one in Chinese. No. Oh. Anyway, the good part is about knitting is a lot of the, you know, if it's simple enough, I mean, you can tell like what the numbers are, and you can try and do the auto translate, and you can pick up on certain things, but you miss some of those finite details. So if someone has a ton of pictures and you can get some of that basic information, and especially if there's a chart, if there's a chart, charts are awesome. So if you find something that has a chart, that's probably going to be your biggest help in translating, because the chart can be pretty universal. So anyway, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, squirrel moment, Heather says. 7 at least, Amanda. Ellie says, my husband used a computer one time and started closing my browsers. Oh, stop, Ellie. Yes, my husband just does that too. And he's like, you're running your memory down. This is why you're having problems. And I'm like, but I need all my things. I need them up. I need them. And then and when I'm done with them, I close them. And he's like, well, you're not doing enough. You're not being done enough. So, oh, Chris says, on my phone, so only one right now. Oh, honey, I have a ton of browsers open on my phone right now. I don't even know. I tried closing them down one day, and I'm like, they're still going. 4 tabs open. Okay, y'all. I have been known to have at least, I don't even want to say the real number, at least 10 browsers open with probably 10 to 20 tabs open each. Is that bad? Yeah. I may have a problem. Yeah. So let's see. Barb says, I mostly loom knit baby and children's hats to donate. This is my passion. There's always a child somewhere that needs one. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all are still laughing at me. um, so, yeah, you donate. I donate too. I have a couple of places that I really like things to go to. I donate to Embrace Grace, and that's something that I do 2 times a year, and I gather things. I kind of help facilitate for other people. Embrace Grace is a place that they help come alongside girls and young moms who come to be pregnant, and then they want support, but they don't have any family support at home, and they kind of come alongside them, and they give them tools and training and teaching and support each week. And then at the end of this 11-week process, it could be, it's like 10 or 11 weeks. And then they have like this big giant baby shower for them. And so we work together and give them a blanket, a hat, and that kind of thing. And then I did some stuff recently for sex trafficking, the sex industry, going and giving blankets or shawls and scarves to people who are rescued. Also gave them to prostitutes that we were ministering to if they wanted to come along with us. Otherwise, just being there for them. We gave them like toiletries and supplies, but I also brought a big old bag of scarves and shawls and let them pick them out, which was a huge blessing, and realized that there are so many children living in these hotels with their parents who are prostituting themselves. And we would give them an opportunity to come with us, but we weren't like, hey, do you know God? And, we weren't like that. We were just like, hey, we're here to help you. We're here for you. There's health benefit, like we can help you with those things. We can help you with this and that. So anyway, that was a really cool program. And the another thing that I'm going to start doing, I would love to start doing, I haven't done this yet, but my grandmother made this fantastic baby wrap. It's like for swaddling. She got like a cotton, just a fabric square of cotton, like a thin washable cotton, and then stitched crocheted a pretty edging in like a what weight is it? Anyway, it was like a crochet thread, and did it like a border. I guess she had a sharp crochet hook, and then did like a border around it. And I want to do that so I can do a bunch of them, and then do these baby boxes. There's these new baby boxes, New Haven baby boxes. Let me see if I can look that up. But anyway, my friend Priscilla Pruitt, she's Mrs. International right now, and that's one of her. That's her big charity and big what do you call it? Anyway, that's her big thing, her platform. And these New Haven baby boxes. And what they are these boxes that are installed inside of a firehouse. And they have like a weighted system. And so when someone opens that up and the baby's put in there, within like a couple of minutes, someone is there. Alarms start going off, like silent alarms, to alert people. It's warm inside, or it's cool in the summer. So it's like controlled temperature thing. Anyway, someone's alerted at a safe place that there's a baby there, and then they can rescue that baby. So there's a law, like if the child is like under a certain age, that they can go take their baby there instead of being found in a dumpster or something like that, which is awful, or a restroom, or any kind of awful place. And so they are putting these baby boxes in worldwide. And so Mrs. International, again, she's actually my friend. I've known her since she's Mrs. Wyoming. She used to live in Texas, and then she moved with her husband to Wyoming, and then she became Miss Wyoming, and then she's recently Mrs. International. And anyway, I've been talking to her. I'm like, man, what can I do? What can we do something for these people? And she's like, well, sure, you know, whatever you'd like to do. And I'm like, well, I would really like to do this thing. I was thinking that would be something really fast and quick. And but maybe we could like make a bunch and then like send them to those places so they get outfitted with those boxes and stuff. Because even just sending one to each place of the box, and it would be amazing, because I don't know how long it takes before the next baby comes along, but even if it goes to one, I would just like something handmade to go with that child, so that they knew that that was for them since they were small, and that someone loved and cared for them even before they were left, and so that they would have something that was worked with love and stitched with love. And so anything that we can like maybe hang a knit edged on or crochet it on or something, that's something that I want to start doing. So anyway, I just completely talked about just talked about that. But anyway, so hopefully anybody else wants to join me or interested in that, just let me know. So anyway, oh, Martha, you said working with yarn, found it's a good way to lose weight. You get so involved and the day's over. That's a good thing. Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh. Alicia, you have 4 projects right behind you on Karen Cakes. Ellie says he works in IT. Oh, yeah. I know. Oh my gosh, I'm such a dork. Jill Fly, what is your favorite pattern in knit? Oh my gosh, y'all. Did you hear what I said about being bored? I don't have a favorite pattern. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. I can favorite items. I love to make cowls. I find that I really enjoy them. I think they're a good way to test knit some stuff if I want to work something in the round, and then I can use it later. And especially if it's like open and meshy, because I can use that in Texas and not something super hot. However, I have made some super hot things that I barely wear. But I do like scarves and shawls. I'm not a big sock knitter, just because it seems to take forever. And then I get the one sock syndrome thing going on, because now I have to make a pair, and then it's like a chore. And I know some people who work like 2 in 1, and they love that. That's just not me. So I have aspirations of being a sock knitter, but I don't think I'll ever be. So I can do it, and I have done it. It's not my thing. So, but I do love cowls. There's something about them. And shawls and stuff like that, and scarves. But I do like to make baby blankets for the babies. Usually if I'm making a baby blanket, it's for a friend, or it's for the Embrace Grace that I do. So yeah, anyway. Oh, you see if your daughter can feel me. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing the video, Maria. Joanne says, I'm a minimalist and I like to keep my browser decluttered. Well, good for you. I would love that. I would love that. I do feel better when I have less up. I do feel less like neurotic about it. But then I'm like, but I feel like I'm missing something. It's like my to-do list. It's like a check-off list. Like I have all these things I check off. Okay, did I finish looking at that? Did I finish reading that article? Because I feel like I'm constantly interrupted. And so I want to finish reading the thing, or I want to finish researching the thing. And I'm afraid I'm never going to go back to like people bookmark stuff, and I never go back to my bookmarks. And so I feel like I need to finish the thing and then close the browser when I'm done. So yeah, anyway. Do I listen to anything while knitting? That's a good question. I do like to, listen to different things. I listen to music. I might, listen to, well, I listen to a variety of things. I think you would be very surprised at what I listen to, because it's such a wide variety. Yeah, but I do like to listen to movies in the background and kind of half watch, because I find if I'm completely just watching and not looking at all at my knitting, then I will mess up, and then I go backwards. And anyway, The things that I like to listen to are eclectic, because I could listen to worship songs and things like that 1 minute, and I could listen to Madonna's Immaculate Collection, because that's what got me through college and working on projects till 6 a.m. I could go and listen to Pink. I could listen to a musical, Hello Dolly. I could listen to Back to the Future audio. So I do a randomosity of things. I could listen to the Chicago CD, or like, anyway, or Tchaikovsky, like I'm random girl. So anyway, I love to be diverse in what I listen to and what I see. So let's see. Oh, Elizabeth says she's having rotator cuff surgery Friday, but you don't want to sit idle. Do you think loom knitting might not be too painful? Yeah. Elizabeth, I mean, if you're not a tight knitter, then I think you could probably maybe work that. Or you might consider getting a small 10-inch knitting board where you can just weave. You could just practice weaving back and forth and do a stockinette stitch. And then when you hook over, it's not going to be very tight. That might actually be easier for you with minimal like kind of wrapping or moving stitches or things like that. So it just depends on what you're doing. But that could be a good, but I would just get a small one. And that way you can just throw it in a bag at your bedside or whatever. So that's what I would suggest. And I would get like maybe get like a shower cap or like a rubber band thing to kind of go around the stitches to keep it from falling off or something like that. Especially if you have to like put it to the side if you need to for whatever reason. Joanne, I support techno geek husbands everywhere. Yeah, my husband's a techno geek, so yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm reading Chris's comment about Ned in the background. The tech guru. Y'all are funny. Okay, let me see if there's anybody else I need to answer. Oh, you do crochet layette sets for Birthright? Let's see. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with Birthright. Is that one that where the babies have gone? We want to see. Okay, Heather says if we have stuff we want to send you so we can help as well. Do you have a P.O. box? Yes, I do. I have a P.O. box. Sorry, that's probably delayed. I don't know when this question came up. I have a P.O. box. You can send it to Kristen Mangus or GoodKnit Kisses, either one. P.O. Box 90, so that's 90. And Keller, Texas, Keller, and that's 76244. So GoodKnit Kisses, P.O. Box 90 at Keller, Texas, 76244. So yeah, you can send anything there and I'll get that. If you let me know it's coming, that's so much better. Just say, hey, I'm sending something, just a heads up. If you kind of know kind of an ETA. And I don't care if you send it like ground and like take the cheapest way possible. That's totally fine. No, don't rush anything unless I've said, hey, there's a deadline, I'm waiting for packages or something. But just send it whatever cheap way as possible and be like, hey, it should come in like 10 days or something like that. That's fine. Just save some money. But yeah, I would be so thankful. That would be amazing. What I do with the Embrace Grace stuff is I get an advance list as advanced as I can, which tells me kind of what the wishes are of what the women, like the birth dates, the projected birth dates, or the baby's already born, and then kind of what their nursery is like, if they have any preferences. And then I try and match up things to their preferences. I pray over the list and I match it up. So that's kind of what I do. Yeah, Alicia, your high school has a program to teach girls who are pregnant. Yeah, that's basically what this is. The ladies are usually between 15 to 26, 25 years old. I have seen a girl as young as 14. Unfortunately, these are ladies who have chosen life, whether they end up
keeping the child with them or going through the adoption process, which there have been a few over the years. You know, some people have gotten upset with me because they're like, oh, what about abortion? What about this? You know, like, you're not supporting. And I'm like, no, I'm pro-love. So you've made your choice. I'm going to support these girls who have made that choice. And so that's my choice, to support them with love. And so I do that. And then the one with the baby boxes, you know, whether they choose to go through that pregnancy for whatever reason, they may have, you know, sometimes people choose that because they know that they want to give the baby up for adoption. They just don't know what to do. They may not have the funds. They may have had someone leave them at the last moment. They may have had whatever happened, that they were hiding the pregnancy and they didn't know how to deal with it. You know, whatever reason why they couldn't do that and they felt that they had to abandon that child, that is the reason for those baby boxes. And so I'd like to start supporting that. That would be amazing. But it does alert, like, I think it alerts like 3 different agencies when the baby is put in there. And so that would be amazing. But yeah, if you want to look it up, I think it's New Haven Baby Boxes, or look up Mrs. International and you will find it. So, yeah, Chris, that mission trip was so amazing. You love what we did? Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah, it is sad, Chris, that some people have to go through that. But the thing is it may not necessarily be what you think. It may not be that, like, some people are like, well, people only do that because they couldn't get an abortion where they are. No, that may not be the only reason. I actually have, like, someone that I knew didn't want to get an abortion because, they knew that that baby should have life, but they had mental illness issues. And they didn't know what to do about all the other stuff. And so anyway, so long story short, that would be an option for that person. And so there are so many different reasons why someone would do that. It may not be something that we would think of because it's not our life. But even if this box is only used once every few years, the fact is that it saved one person. And so if that can save a life, then I'm all for it. Because a life is a life, no matter what. And I just want them taken care of. And I would not want a baby to die somewhere in the gutter, behind a dumpster, in a toilet, anywhere. So it's about supporting that, not about being anti the other. So, so it's all about pro-love. And if you ever want to know more about Embrace Grace, they're all about pro-love. Anyway, they have these boxes that they give at pregnancy centers now, and it's like a love bomb box. So if someone has an unplanned pregnancy, they give them these boxes now. It's a new thing. So I'm excited about that. So anyway, you'd love to join the Baby Box Project? Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, I'm thinking that blanket, I'll have to take pictures of the one my grandmother did, because I think that would be a really good, like, easy, quick box, because, a quick thing, because it's lightweight and it would ship really easily, and it could be tight rolled up and sent over. I believe that, Mrs. International, she's actually going to be going to a foreign country. I need to find out where that is. I've forgotten, but she's actually going to help get the boxes there too. I think she's actually going to be moving or traveling extensively. And but anyway, there are so many different states that they're looking to get these boxes in. But they're cut into the side of the building, and they're made. They're pretty fascinating. So anyway. Oh my gosh, I've got so many questions, and I'm going through them like molasses because I'm super slow. And I'll talk about my diverse music now. I know how far behind I am. Yeah, so anyway, oh my gosh. Yeah, we need baby boxes. And Alicia, where are you? What state are you in? I just need some baby boxes here in state. Yeah. You can look up New Haven Baby Boxes and find out what states that they're in. You can start sharing their page to your profile and letting your friends know about it.
they have some really interesting stories that they do. I don't post everything that they do. I've shared a few times. Just with the nature of things going on, I've kind of slowed down sharing on some of that. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, Chris, oh no, because not because of abortions, just wish that there were more things in place that could make the decision to give up a child easier without judgment or consequences. Yeah. Yeah, so there's this law, and I don't know the law, so I can't like quote it, but there is a law like you have a certain period of time that you can give up your child without any kind of consequence like that. And I want to say that like maybe it's only a few days. I don't know, but I do know that when they're newborn like that, you know, you can go take them immediately. But I want to say that all those places that have safe places have like a way to give them up like that. So anyway, you can find out more about it. New Haven has all that information on their site. But you walked in at the wrong time. Sorry, Angela. Yeah, just talking about several things I did last fall. Y'all are catching them up. Angela says, I was just trying to find the help with the knitting board S-loom. I need to see the video to take it off the blanket. A chain cast off is a really easy, great way to do it. I have a chain bind off video that I did taking something off of a loom. It's not an S-loom, but that's actually easier, I think, that way. So anyway, yeah, doing the chain bind off would be great on the S-loom. So even though I'm not showing it on the S-loom, you can still do that. I'm using it on the long loom. But yeah, hospitals and fire stations you can do that with, but this usually the people are dropping off like a child who is a little older, but some of these are like little babies, like just born. And so this thing though is like weighted, and it has like it's like an incubator sort of thing. It like regulates the temperature, and it has all these alarms go off. And anyway, so that's pretty amazing. There you go. Thank you, Joanne, for that. I finally caught up to the end. I had to scroll through. Anyway, I have gone on for much longer than I intended, per usual. It's been great to chat it up with you guys. If you join me tomorrow, I'll be talking about loom knitting, and I may jump back on when I see everything come through with your inspirations and let you guys know. I was just going to log in real quick and see if I see them. But the video should be coming up soon. Go to YouTube and look up your inspirations and wait for that video. And you can also check out their blog and look for my blog there. I'm so excited to start doing this. Thank you guys for joining me and asking such wonderful questions. Sorry, I got a little teary-eyed with you today, but that's okay. So I usually start about 8:30 or 9. I may end up just moving it to 9 because that seems to be easier for me. But that's Central Standard Time. If you want to look up Chicago time, it's the same time as that. And anyway, in the meantime, I hope you have a great day and happy knitting and crochet. Love you guys. Bye.